Tapi Dr. Lai, you should ask the organizer to tone down the music so that it can be heard. You're asking Prof Kim to on his video, is it?
Yes, exactly.
Maybe he's not listening because of the music.
I did text.
Okay, I'm here. Can you turn on your camera for a while? Since we are going to start. Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay.
Start lagi ya. YouTube ni untuk orang tengok lah. Okey. Kalau lambat sangat orang belah nanti. Okey. Thank you.
So we are about to start.
Okay, all the best semua, Prof Karim, Dato Naim, Dr. Yang.
Okey.
Okay.
A very good morning to Dato Professor Dr. Nasruddin Mohammad, the Director of Higher Education Leadership Academy, Associate Professor Dr. Razali Hassan, the Director of Malaysia Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training, MyRIVET, all respected keynote speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tvet-Leadership Development Program, joint organized by ACAP and MyRIVET. And it is my pleasure to be a moderator for this seminar. My name is Chee, and on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you, and we really appreciate you spending time to join us this morning. I hope you will learn a lot today, and we have lined up for you to be fruitful and engaging. Right, ladies and gentlemen, now let's begin this program with a prayer to be led by Ustad Muhammad Amirul Hakim Saparuddin. Over to you, Ustad.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ila hadratin Nabi Safa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa alihi washabil kiram al-Fatihah. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Arrahmanir rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق والناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وصحبه حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. اللهم يا فعال لما يريد. We express our gratitude to you for allowing us to attend the launching ceremony of the webinar on the Tvet Leadership Development Program on this morning. Oh Allah, we ask you for the safety of our religion and the welfare of our body. Oh Allah, Lord of the implementing authority, make the days that we have gone through starting with your mercy, continue with your blessing and ended with your forgiveness. And also make the days that we have gone through with guidance and with the victory of excellence. Ya Allah, Ya Muhammad, Ya Aziz, Ya Jabbar, bless our efforts as a means to enlighten and convince ourselves that the personal safety of either outer and inner is a prerequisite for achieving happiness and excellence in various fields. O Allah, grant us faith and strength in the order to face the challenge of life during the transition period and in the phase of life in this new millennium. Ya Allah, Ya Farij al-Ham wa Ya Kashif al-Gham. Ya Allah, show us guidance and adjust our path and ways to achieve happiness and glory. Let us listen to people who like the good things. Let us avoid doing the bad and evil things. Oh Allah, bless ourselves and life in this meeting and gathering, and prevent us from harm and unfortunate events. Rabbana alayka tawakkalna wa ilayka nabna wa ilaykal masir. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzaban nar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Taqabbalallahu minkum.
Thank you, Ustad Amirul Hakim, for the recital of prayer. Moving right along, I would like to invite the respected Dr. Professor Dr. Nasruddin Mohammad, the Director of Higher Education Leadership Academy, to deliver the welcoming speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang berhormat Datuk Seri Dr. Noraini Ahmad, Minister of Higher Education, Malaysia, Associate Professor Technologies Dr. Razali Hassan, Director, Malaysia Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training, MyRIVET, Universiti Tun Hussein on Malaysia, Honorable Speakers, Dato Technologies Dr. Mohammad Naim Yaakub, Deputy Director, MyRIVET UTHM, Professor Dr. Abdul Karim Alias, Director, Center for Development of Academic Excellence, Universiti Sains, Malaysia, Dr. Saing Kim, Research Fellow, Korea Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training, Moderator, Associate Professor Technologies Dr. Chee Sern, Head, Department of Research, Innovation and Consultancy, MyRIVET UTHM, Honorable Professors, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you and good morning. First and foremost, welcome to all of the participants and thank you for being with us this morning. It is indeed a blessing for us to be here to listen to the esteemed speakers and get an earful to their insights. I would like to express my appreciation to the speakers for their valuable contribution today in the first series of webinar on Tvet-Leadership Development Program on the theme titled Leadership Skills in the Digital Age, Challenges and Opportunities. On another hand, this webinar will not be able to be materialized if not for the collaboration between Malaysia Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training, MyRIVET, under the Universiti Tun Hussein on Malaysia, and also Center for Leadership Sustainability, Higher Education Leadership Academy, that is CAPT. These parties have worked hard to ensure that this webinar is conducted today. Kudos to all of them, and thank you for all the hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, TVET is understood as the education that emphasizes on training and skills development relating to a wide range of occupational fields, production processes, services, and livelihoods. It focuses on preparing knowledge workers to meet the challenges presented by the transition from the industrial age to the information age. Within TVET, strategic collaboration between institutions, students, and enterprises or industries is considered the core identity of the educational mode. TVET leaders through MyRIVET helps to develop the skills of specialized and professional educators so that quality instruction and preparation are delivered, resulting in creative, technical sound, and future-ready educators. TVET is recognized as one of the 4 priorities of the UNESCO's Education for All strategy and it is also a priority under UNESCO's Education for Sustainable Development strategy. Therefore, it is imperative for Tvet leaders to set up and meet the growing and changing demands of the industry. Hence, this is part of the sharing platform to ensure that the Tvet leaders are inspired and their knowledge on Tvet leadership are updated. Therefore, the main objectives of the webinar are to study the role of leadership and challenges arising in the digital age and to identify skill sets that enhances the leadership style. My fellow audience, topic discussed today, namely the role of leadership and challenges arising in the digital age, digital skills in improving leadership style, and responsibilities of Tvet leaders in the digital era perspective of South Korea, will emphasize on 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development Goals, that is SDG 4, developing strategies of SDG-based policy to institutional level, and SDG 4 quality education. Malaysia Tvet reform will provide the knowledge and details of how Tvet leaders are able to comprehend SDGs topic into Tvet to assist leaders in developing a more sustainable strategy in leading Tvet institutions. As the organizer of the webinar, we are proud to steer the knowledge sharing session today by the experts on their insights and strategies as leaders in Tvet field. We hope that this webinar will perhaps provide the informative platform on how leaders, educators, or instructors from universities and Tvet institutions can actually prepare and enhance their leadership skill in the digital age. This is to assist the Tvet leaders in setting the pace and strategy actions to ensure that the Tvet education is future ready. ACAD is looking forward to organizing more programs to disseminate leadership knowledge locally and globally. It is hoped that this will be a fruitful webinar for all, and I look forward to witnessing the series of Tvet Leadership Development Program becoming an agenda for the betterment of Tvet education in the future. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dato Professor Dr. Nasruddin, for the welcoming speech. Ladies and gentlemen, within the context of Tvet, leadership can be seen as a process of interaction between internal organizational responsibility, external environment, and individual characteristics that lead to organizational development. And in the course of digital transformation, there are challenges and opportunity in leadership skill acquisition. And it is a great honor to have three prominent keynote speakers with us to talk about the challenges and opportunity of leadership skill in the digital age. And I have a note to make before we begin the keynote speech. At the end of the presentation of each speaker, we will have a short Q&A session if time allows us to do so. If you have any question, please write it down in the chat box. Our people will collect the questions, right? And if the time is not sufficient, we will bring all the questions to the end after all presenter has presented their slides. Right, without further ado, allow me to introduce the first keynote speaker, Dato Dr. Dato Technologist Dr. Mohammad is currently holding the position as the member of Board of Director of Malaysia Board of Technologies, Board of Director of Malaysia of Universiti Malaysia, Alias, Deputy Director, Malaysia Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training, MyRIVET, the committee member of Building Innovation and Learning in Tvet project under UNESCO UNIWOC. And Dato Dr. Naim obtained his bachelor degree in civil engineering from Swansea University, UK, master degree in civil engineering as well from University Technology Malaysia, and a PhD in technical and vocational education for Virginia Technology University. UTHM, right? Dato Dr. Naim is going to talk about the role of leadership and challenges in digital age. Dato, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Lai Si Chen, for that kind introduction. Good morning to my fellow panel speakers, audience out there, wherever you are from many countries over the world. We really appreciate your willingness to join this program this morning, which we believe is going to be very beneficial for everyone in the advent of the digital age that is already in front of us. As mentioned by Associate Professor Dr. Lai, I will be talking about the roles of leadership and challenges arising from the digital age. Now, let me focus first. When we talk about leadership, even before the digital age, we are already practicing leadership, most of us who are leading Tibet organizations. And now it is not easy to actually manage organization, especially managing people. And now with the coming of digitalization, with the power of computerization, with the increased bandwidth of the internet, some people will be leveraging it for their positive impact, while some will be left behind. I am sure no one of us wants to be left behind. So let's learn from what others have done and research that showed how beneficial and how we can really realize the promise of the digital era. Thank you. Can I have the slides, please? First slide. Yes. Now, Oxford Economics and SAP has done a study on 3,000 companies to see what is the impact on their digitalization effort in terms of two factors. That is the increase in market share and increase in profitability. So the blue bar are companies with lower levels of digitalization, while the pink bar represents 100 companies with the greatest level of digital transformation. As you can see clearly in terms of market share, those companies that really are high level of digitalization, they get up to 85% of market share, more than double the ones that have low level of digitalization at 41%. Likewise, for profitability, these companies with high digitalization have 80% increase in profitability from their investment compared to only 53% increase in profitability by companies with lower levels of digitalization. So that makes for a compelling case for us to do. This is not, of course, the only evidence that we have. There are many, many other dividends in the industry, in the private sector, as well as the public sector. Next slide, please. So I mentioned about challenges faced in the digitalization or in arising from the digital age. There are several that McKinsey in 2017 have found out. According to descending order, the first and the most is cultural and behavioral changes. People are still stuck in their ways of doing things, although they try to move. As we know, Rogers mentioned about the fusion of innovations, that there will be maybe 5% the early innovators, the ones that are ahead. And then we have the early majority and the late majority, and then we have the laggards. So this is our duty to make everybody come on board. Other challenges including trying to understand what is the digital trends going, especially for us in the Tibet sector, how, for example, we can leverage on digitalization on trying to understand the gap in supply and demand, trying to understand what are the new skills required in order for us to input into the curriculum to produce graduates that will be fit for the job market. Lack of talent for digital, we need to send them for training. Lack of IT infrastructure, lack of dedicated funding. This we all try to make and try to reprioritize, trying to reprioritize our budget, to make sure that we put where our worth is. In terms of organizational structure are not aligned. Of course, we had made this, perhaps our structure are 10 years old, 15 years old, 5 years old. So we need to align that so that teams can work in a matrix way, not confined to the borders of the units or divisions or the ministry. When we talk about Tvet, for example, there are so many ministries offering Tvet in Malaysia at least, and then we need to work between the ministries, apart from intra-ministry, to ensure that we don't have a fragmented system, so that everybody is aligned to meet what is mentioned in our country's strategic plan for the country's development, and so on and so forth. You can see other challenges. For example, the business process is too rigid, and then lack of data, which is vital for digitalization. Move ahead, please, forward the slide. If you can see on the top left corner, the top left quadrant of this chart, the change over the years from 1980s to 2020 in terms of change of complexity of collaboration on the y-axis. On the y-axis is the collaboration, on the x-axis is the time. So initially, it's not very complicated, everybody comes together, have a meeting, we make decision. After that, with the advent of mobile phones and then web cameras where you can have meetings using audio and video, so this become more complex, such that sometimes the second liner, the third layer and the fourth layer, they will meet the other people in the other organization. So it's going into matrix, and then now it's digital, is even more kind of very intensified collaboration. On the right corner, top right corner is, of course, some of the technologies we have to kind of propel the digitalization. On the bottom right corner, as you see, in terms of technology, excuse me, is very exponential in terms of how technology has changed. The rate of change of technology is exponential. And for the individual and the business or the public service department to catch up is quite hard. So there's an opportunity cost there. And even for public policy, sometimes, when we have this fourth industrial revolution, we come up with, for example, fourth industry forward, digitalization of the economy, the policy. The policy comes before the technology. So this is always the case. So I think if we can come with a policy before the technology, that would be really wonderful. So this is on the bottom left corner is about the main role of the digital leader is to manage the gap between the change and our adaptation, how we innovate based on the change. So this is, if we are quick to respond, we will be ahead. Okay, next slide, please. Forward slide. Okay, this is a show of in 1 minute in the whole world, what are people doing? We have like for 70,000 download of Netflix, where 1.5 million, 900,000 people log into the Facebook, 60 million, and then YouTube, 4.1 million watching the YouTube. So these are all, of course, including us and our employees and people in the private, the public sector, very intensified with the increase in bandwidth, connection are speedier, then it allows this, for example, Netflix to be downloaded in a matter of minutes, and with 5G is even more quicker. So we need to be mindful of this, and these are the kind of opportunities put in front of us. Continue, please. Next slide. All right, then we look at how things have changed in terms of the way people work. So see on the column there, we have on the left, we have the key challenges faced, and the second blue column is leader. What is the focus of the leaders, followed by the collaboration techniques, and what are the corporate cultures. In the beginning, we have the local and functional. The growth is always localized, very domestic, traditional skills. The leaders is to perfect the functional silos, make sure what you're supposed to do. Don't step on other people's stuff. That has been the cry before. Co-located teams are together in a physical location, they, in the physical distance, they are very near to each other, close proximity. And corporate culture is very much localized, high control and involvement of the leaders. Move on to the remote and virtual environment. We have multiple locations and the works are cutting across the borders. Leaders are now having less face-to-face contact. And then they have, in terms of collaboration, working across distance, across time zones, and through technology. For example, a call center in Manila, for example, is open at night from midnight until in the morning. And in the United States, it's working day because of the time zone difference. So while the Americans and the Europeans are working in the day, they can get help from these call centers in the East where people are. But the people in the East, they have to, sacrifice work in the what we call graveyard hours. But it's okay for business sake. And then go to the metrics organization for organizational development. We have to align the process. But sometimes the issue here is that when we work in metrics teams, that one person may have multiple bosses. So sometimes I know in Malaysia, for example, they want to kind of good performance appraisal by their number one boss at the end of the year. So sometimes if they have metrics teams and their time is more devoted to the other part of the work, so that cause some concern for them. And now we look at the rightmost column, the digital part, faster everything, fast technology adoption, new business models comes up. And then the leader now has to be more analytical and be more experimental, dealing with disruption, with emergent technology and rapid change. So the leader needs to also be very alert and agile. Collaboration, fragmented, multiple and agile metrics teams, more connected to the outside world and more autonomous. So we have to have more empowerment, more delegation with trust. But definitely that trust, that employment delegation must not bring risk to the organization. It has to be that people have to be trained for them to take risk, calculate the risk, and they have to act in a way not detrimental to the organization. And the corporate is about fast autonomous teams. Can we move to the next slide, please? Now we learn about VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, how to address that? Very difficult. But Institute of the Future has suggested that we use VUCA to counter VUCA. So volatility, where the rate of change is very fast. So we as leaders need to provide them the vision, because in the cloud of things, in the darkness, we are the ones to provide direction for them, to provide vision. Because if we ourselves say, I don't know what's going, I'm not sure what to do, no. And among the many things, we have to decide, probably, scenario A. This is our path A that we need to take a very, I see, a very confident path. Second one is maybe middle of the ground, and C is path C, maybe less optimistic. So we have to have that scenario, plan A, plan B, plan C, but the vision must be there. For uncertainty, things are uncertain, unclear. So we need to understand. Leaders try to make out what is this. From the things that are not clear, you are clear. Well, of course, it's not easy, but in terms of trying to, getting input from stakeholders, getting the proper data, external parties, you can make a very informed decision based on the big data analytics. For example, for you to try out, iterate. If you fail, you try again, try new ways until you change significantly. Complexity. Although some people say we fight complexity with clarity, but the complexity itself, there are multiple, decision paths. Difficult to decide which one. So you have to take the courage and take the risk. Fail fast and then try again. How? Of course. Huh? And then the ambiguity. You need to be agile. Helping individuals, to become agile. You have to respond and react to the network and real-time demands. So we're talking about very agile. Not like a fox. Like you cannot wait for wait and see, wait and see. You got to be really try things and see what happens. If not successful, you try out again. The next slide, please. So University of Liverpool School of Management last year has done some research on digitalization of government service providers, because more often we have been hearing studies done in the private sector, in the business world, but this is focusing on the government and the public service, because I believe most of our Tvet providers in today's audience come from the public sector, but there are from private sector too, but we hear from both and see. So there is thing called digital maturity. You know, you cannot just leapfrog from a state of nothing to become you're on the hill already. So we'll see later what are these stages. How about space and place of work? It's no longer your desk, physical desk, from morning to 9 to 5. You are there all the time. You know, it's about mobile. It's about mobile nowadays. Virtual organizing. If you see the James Bond, you're like the MI6. Nobody sees you, but you are everywhere, sort of. You know, you are taking charge. So this is becoming a virtual leader. And then the last one, but not the least, is understanding and appreciating the digital divide and digital exclusion, because just like economic inequality, once we move with high technology into the world of digitalization, there will be people left out. People who are from the, for example, lower socio-economic status, people from the bottom rung of the organizational structure, people who are in remote areas, divided by geographic location, you know, sometimes they have to climb on trees just to get the internet. So future public leaders on the top right corner is a virtual team leader. It's emotionally intelligent because people have a lot of new challenges when they work at home, for example, because it's about domestic surrounding may not be very conducive to official work, and they have children around them, their spouse, and their children are also need to study and get online courses. So you got to be quite, you know, having empathy towards them. Leader themselves must be digitally literate and conscious of that digital exclusion that I mentioned. Next slide, please. Next slide. Right. This is the digital maturity. We are going one by one now. So from the phase of exploring digital, leveraging on traditional technologies to automate existing capabilities. For example, I can give one example in the Polytechnic. For example, we are processing student intake, those applicants, you know, who apply based on their results from the schools. Used to be we do on paper, but now it's like UPU, you know, the Central Processing Agency. They will process it automatically on the internet. It's online. So at that time, it was just, you know, people send and we have to actually calculate and key into the computer. But now with the internet, it's all, the results can be culled, you know, from the examination syndicate. Students do not have to key in their examination result. And then the system automatically decide whether you can be accepted to a particular program, for example. And then from exploring to doing digital. So again, leveraging on the digital technologies to extend our capabilities even more. And then becoming digital, you know, using that technologies to become more synchronized and less siloed. So we are moving from just now we mentioned about, yes, we understand every time people say, don't be too silo in our working, have collaboration, cooperation with the others, intra-departmental, interdepartmental, you know, intergovernmental, but now it's even more, you know. And then being digital when you're on top of the mountain, on top of the hill, where your business process are profoundly different from the prior things that you do. You know, things are so different already, just like we have been hit by pandemic COVID-19 recently, that spurs and triggers us to really do things online, classes online, and then meetings online, trying to solve things. But this is still not the one. It's just using the platform. But the way we work in terms of how we utilize data, big data, for example, in understanding the supply and demand for Tvet. Are we really using big data and artificial intelligence yet? I don't see yet it's happening. It's still collecting, getting from the electronic copies of Excel and try to make sense of it, still getting secondary report, but the AI is not really happening. So we still have not really being digital. Okay, so next slide. Now, the second one, space and place of work. People are concerned about, are people being productive when they work online? Are they really working behind the camera? Sometimes when we have meeting, sometimes there is a still picture. So what goes behind that still picture? So work from home suits many, but the domestic space and arrangement is not suitable for others. Lower economic status, people perhaps smaller homes, fewer rooms, and they share with their children the gadget. So this is the problem that leaders need to understand and try to be facilitative. And at the same time, you need to protect employees from the pressure to always be digitally present. Sometimes meeting 2 and 3 from morning to night. I've seen people trying to log into meetings, 2 or 3 meetings at once. That's impossible. You can only focus, one meeting at a time. You can only listen to one person at a time. You can see many things, but you can only listen to one thing. So this is how we schedule our meetings so as not to be put into that kind of situation. Mixed location, part office, part home, part remote. So maybe people who have no access, they can go to the nice thing about Malaysia is that in the rural areas, we have these internet centers where people can go. Our consumers, our customer, the prospective student, if they don't have good internet, they can go to that rural area internet centers and try to key into their application to apply to universities, for example. Move on, please. Next slide. Virtual organizing, digital meetings, they reduce travel time and cost. This is one good thing of it. But sometimes full days of virtual meetings become more demanding than face-to-face, potential overload. Humans, they are somehow we call social creatures. They just need to meet people. If they are alone just staring at the computer screen, squinting their eyes and the neck don't even turn left and right, it's quite demanding. So we can have sometimes neck pain. So, somebody suggests it's better to have hybrid meetings where people, one person may go to the office 3 times a day, stay at home 2 days in a week, and sometimes for meeting, sometimes they attend physically, sometimes they attend online. This may be one good example. And staff will be encouraged to establish, staff will need to be encouraged to establish boundaries to avoid overload and burnout. Yes, that's why we mentioned in the digitalized era, new ways of working, It doesn't mean that once we are online, many things will settle. It will bring new issues into our health, into our family. So we need to somehow have, the leaders must actually understand it. And induction of new staff at the bottom there. But now it's not too difficult because we have digital natives coming into the organization, people who are virtually born with smartphone in their hands, So it's not so difficult to train this younger generation. The last one, the most bottom, is very important. Management by outcomes, not management by presence. So it doesn't really matter how you do it, but you have been given certain outcome, expected outcome, certain key performance indicator. You must deliver it. So that will be more important whether you are in the office or at home, as long as you deliver the outcome. Next, please. Now, this one I've mentioned several times already about being mindful of the digital divide and digital exclusion. So in terms of persistent proportion of the population, and particularly those vulnerable, relying on public service, who cannot access online. I would like to take my hats off to UTHM and some other universities. For example, during the pandemic, they even sent the thumb drive containing the notes to the students in the hard-to-reach areas that do not have internet. So this is to ensure that there's no digital inequality and equal opportunity for all students. Next slide, please. We skip this, another one. Next slide. So being digitally literate, leaders must be digitally literate. You must have that digital literacy to manage your own internal digital specialist and have the knowledge management skills. They said data can be converted into knowledge and knowledge can be converted into wisdom. So that wisdom, you use it to make the correct decision. And of course, again, conscious of the digital exclusion. All right, thank you. Next slide. So again, a reminder about this. I have to read this so that because it's very important. In exploiting the potential of digitalization to reduce office space and save costs, those staff typically in lower grade and lower paid roles who need to be in office and not at home because they have domestic pressure on space and place. And other circumstances may not be forgotten because, as I mentioned, maybe smaller houses, lesser rooms, lesser gadgets. We need to provide them areas in the physical office, not to totally eliminate the need for physical office. So while many staff welcome the experience of home-based working and want to continue with at least some measure, other staff need the structure and social context of a workplace. So this must be taken into future policies. Next. Now, in short of what we've seen so far in terms of the rapid change that's taking place in terms of the technology and the challenges that we face, these are some of the things that digital leaders need to. They have to be flexible to try new things, but don't try and wait for so long before they change again to see the result. They have to be very quick, very prompt and speedy because they change. As we rapidly grasp new ideas, we try to do this, in a very flexible and speedy manner. A lot of us trying to test new ideas, and taking on challenges. Don't say that, oh, it's difficult, this, we don't have the infrastructure, but we may start small and gradually, just now mentioned about exploration and then being digital and try to, in the end, is being digital. You have to, that digital maturity, interpersonal, is asking others for help. In Tibet, for example, I would like to quote Malaysia's case. We have multi-ministry, multi-departmental offering of Tibet. We can leverage on each other's strength. I don't see it happening so much because we are still working within our department, within our ministry. But actually, there are so many things we can actually learn and gain strength from other ministries. Though this interpersonal, now that digitalization offers that opportunity. Collaboration, leveraging on skills that others have. So you don't have to hire many people and pay them salary and then make them tetap dan berpencen. You do. Last time people used this as outsourcing, but now even that is not necessary. You can just try to get help from other places. Information gathering, definitely big data analytics, and always ask for feedback. Next. So quote for America, and of course this is quite transferable to other countries as well, and this is my last slide actually, looking at again a delivery-driven government. Despite the advance in technologies, the power of computerization, the speed of the internet, you must never ever forget that you have to build equitable system that is fair for all, easily accessible for all. Otherwise, again, the danger of the digital divide will materialize. And of course, you don't want that to happen. And talking about government agencies, your customer, your consumer, your stakeholders students especially, and industry, for them. And put people first, not the technology first. Technology, speed of internet, whatever artificial intelligence are all ways and means to an end. The people, the taxpayers' money, think of them. Empower for action, empowerment, delegation, trust your downliners. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they have to be groomed and trained. There should be succession planning for them to take over from the leaders. So you cannot just give somebody who just worked for 1 month a very big responsibility. There have to be a career path matrix. Down here, inform with evidence, of course, with data and all. But this is one that is lacking. Sometimes we go by hunch, by what our gut feeling, but it should be based on data. And now with big data analytics. And of course, this continuous improvement. So with that, Mr. Moderator and ladies and gentlemen, I end my sharing of what is the role of leaders and the challenges arising from the digital world. And please, if you have any question, I'll be willing to entertain them. Thank you very much. Dr. Lai, the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Naim, for sharing and the presentation. There are a few points I can make from the presentation. First of all, the challenges of leaders in digital world, and leaders in digital world should be a virtual team leader, right? And he or she should be able to manage ambiguity and uncertainty, be open-minded and flexible, and be able to design jobs for the worker to work in flexible and autonomous way. And apart from that, the role of leadership, and it is important to try new things and to be quick in grasping new idea, testing out new idea, collaborating with others from different functions, information gathering and feedback seeking. So I'm sure this piece of information will guide us to be a better leader, especially within the context of TVET. So once again, thank you, Dr. Naim. Now, I would like to, we still have a little bit of time, so I would like to open to the floor for questions, if there's any. So I have already one question here, Dato. Why is it critical for leaders to embrace digital technology, particularly in the context of TVET?
Okay, some of the things that are not possible using traditional ways is now made possible through digitalization. And for example, in terms of productivity, as I mentioned, the focusing on TVET, for example, the issue of the labor market information system has been the bone to us always. The supply always lacks the demand. Demand from industry always say that we are not producing the workers that suits their requirements. So now with big data analytics, with artificial intelligence, this is possible. We don't have to wait the data, but somehow or other, that technology cull all the information, all the data from, for example, advertisement on job opening, and then reports on the new upskilling and reskilling needs, the top 20 advertised jobs. These are all indications for us as TVET providers to take stock and to revise, if necessary, what we are doing in terms of curriculum and the content of the courses and program. So if we don't have that, so we are, the industry, the workplace is already far ahead, and we are producing something that they don't need. And they may take people from outside the country. This is a loss to us. And the other one is in terms of even delivering the teaching and learning, new ways of delivering it using technology that enable more understanding of the students of the thing. For example, of course, we've heard a lot about the simulation of the pilot, of the aeroplane, how pilots learn through simulators, where they can learn now from well, they say they want to or to drive a ship or to steer a ship or do many things with machinery. That's possible now to have you test first with your a simulated model, and then with augmented reality, virtual reality. If you want to assess a building defect, up there, very high building, you can send a drone and take pictures to have a preliminary of the situation. So that save time and the danger of going up there, and then you can decide how severe is the situation before you actually make that correction. So these are some of the things that I think we can take opportunity. That's why you have to be. It is not an option. This is not an option. You have to really ride on the digitalization and the power of computing and the internet. Dr. Lai?
All right, thank you for the answer, Dato. And one more question. Do you think senior leader or aging worker will be left out in digital transformation? And what is your suggestion?
Yeah, sometimes, if we are talking about this 20 or 30 years ago, this might be true. I've heard, one of my former boss saying he's allergic to computer. At that time, it was 1980s. Now you cannot say that anymore. There's no choice. But of course, the people in what we call in Malaysia, the 5 series, 6 series, they are born already actually, with personal computers and smartphones, So they are the lucky ones actually. They are, the way they age is they progress through many changes, technologies that are considered milestone developments, like for example, myself, I'm 60 years old now. In early 80s, the first personal computer I've seen, a Mac 2E. And then we move on to have the big mobile phones. And then we have the internet, the emails. And then all this. I remember we have this productivity called Lotus 123 to do spreadsheet. Very basic, but if you consider what Excel can do now in terms of statistical calculation, that's already very many years ahead. So senior leaders, if you say about 50 to 60 years old, actually they don't have any excuse not to understand technology. They live through it, That's why I say, if you were talking about this 30 years ago, that would be an excuse. But now no more, we already know the technology. So, and then the senior leaders must be a model. They must be digitally literate themselves. But of course, in terms of they have people around them to do more of the more tedious and more detailed stuff. But they must understand, for example, they must know what is big data. How is it different from just, churning data using a spreadsheet? What is big data analytics? What is artificial intelligence? They must have knowledge about this. But they don't have to be experts. They be good leaders and managers. Dr. Lai?
Right. All right. Thank you for the answer, Dato. So it means that there's not much choice for the senior worker. So we have to upgrade ourselves, and we have to reskill and upskill in order to survive in this competitive world. All right. Thank you very much. Due to time constraints, so I will bring the rest of the question back to the end of the presentations of all presenter. Okay, moving forward, we have the next presenter, Professor Dr. Abdul Karim Alias of Universiti Sains, Malaysia. So let me introduce Professor Dr. Abdul Karim. Dr. Abdul Karim Alias is a professor of food technology at the School of Industrial Technology, Universiti Sains, Malaysia, and current director of the Center for Development and Academic Excellence. Professor Dr. Abdul Karim earned his Bachelor of Applied Science in Food Technology from Universiti Sains, Malaysia, Master of Science in Food Processing Engineering from University of Reading, and from the same university, Prof. Abdul Karim obtained PhD in Food Technology, right? And he was the recipient of the prestigious National Academy Award in 2008 for teaching from the Ministry of Higher Education, Malaysia. He has been recognized as the top 50 educator in Asia Pacific in 2015 and the Malaysia's Rising Star Award, Malaysia Research Star Award, and the World Most Influential Scientific Minds by KRIVET Analytics. Okay, Professor Abdul Karim will talk about digital skill in improving leadership style. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Dr. Lai. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, selamat sejahtera. The fellow speakers, and also I'd like to thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity. It's a great pleasure to share the topic this morning. Before I proceed, I just mentioned Dr. Naim just now mentioned Lotus 1, 2, 3. That reminded me, I used that in 1988 when I did my master's at that time. I was so excited when I managed to do the regression using Lotus 1, 2, 3. So that was back then in 1988. And maybe Dr. Naim also remember perhaps chi-square, word perfect. Those were the days.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And basically that led me to this topic this morning. I was asked to talk about the skills and basically the competency for leaders in the digital age, basically in the context of TVET and also education in general. So let's start with a slide first. Can I have the slides? Yeah, okay. So the digital skills in improving leadership style. This is the title given to me, but I don't like the style part. It's not so much about the style, I think. It's more of the impact and the effectiveness of the leaders in the digital age, the competency and the skills that they need to have in order to, set the right vision and mission. Okay, let's, let's, not yet. Can we go back to the title slide? Okay, yeah. So to me, it's not so much of a style. It's more on the competency and also the skill of our leaders in the digital age. Okay, let's watch the video in the next slide. Can we go to the next slide, please?
By injecting methylene blue, it's easier to identify the structures. What do you see, Doc?
Gallbladder, cystic duct, common bile duct.
Yes. Misidentification of the anatomy is the main cause of biliary tree injuries. Today we're trying this new technique of... Put those things away, people. No texting in my OR. Save that for the drive home.
Actually, we're not texting, sir. Dr. Bailey's performing a toupee procedure right now, and there wasn't enough room in her OR, so we're just following it on Twitter.
Twitter? What the hell is a Twitter?
So, Twitter. What the hell is a Twitter? So we might have this situation, among our leaders at any level, at different levels, that probably never heard of this social media called Twitter. Okay, so what's the message from this video? Next, please. So the message is this. The reason many digital transformation programs fail has little to do with ambition and technology. It is mainly about execution. And why execution fail? We always say implementation, and we keep saying that again and again. So why does it fail? Because the failure in execution, in turn, is due to lack of understanding, knowledge, and skills of the leadership. So this is from this book here, Orchestrating Transformation by Michael Witt here. If you can see the book, it's a very good book. If you want to read about the role of digital leadership in the digital world. Yeah. Okay. Next. So basically, these are the three things that I would like to share. The first one is talking about the digital leadership in the VUCA world. Dr. Naim has mentioned about VUCA just now. And number two is the key skills. What are the key skill or the core competencies for educational leaders. I'm talking about the leadership here in the context of educational context or educational leadership here. And the last one, I'll share some examples of so-called game changer initiative initiated by the visionary digital leaders, okay, international and also and the local example. Next. So this is VUCA. Now everyone is, the buzzword now, VUCA. We talk about the complexity of the world, complexity of things around us, a lot of complex problems that we need to solve. Volatility, the rate of change is so fast, it's mind-boggling. Sometimes we feel that we cannot cope, Ambiguity, lack of clarity about meaning of an event, and uncertainty, unclear about the present. I think the best example is the pandemic that we are now still facing. We are still grappling. We are not certain. Even the experts are quarreling, argue. They cannot come to the, they disagree on a lot of things about vaccine, things like that. This is the kind of world that we are living now, the VUCA world. Next. So if we see VUCA world, in VUCA world, everything is moving at an exponential rate in terms of the speed. If you look at the speed of an innovation, as a function of time here. So people still learn, at a linear rate, but things are changing dynamically around us exponentially. So when we look at the technology innovation, especially the technology is evolving so fast at a mind-boggling rate. So when we see here the VUCA, in the VUCA world, it is imperative, it is very essential that the leadership at any level, from the top to the different levels and middle managers, to the even to the bottom rank, as long as they are playing some leadership role, they need to be very alert and very well versed, and they know how to deal with the ever-changing environment, which is the VUCA world. And this is especially true when we talk about digital leadership. Okay. Right. Next. So we are living in the hyper-connected world, the digital disruption. What is digital disruption? Next. Next, please. So digital disruption is basically, as you can see, let me just. Digital disruption is a change that occurs when new digital technologies and business models affect the value proposition of existing goods and services. So meaning that all the digital technology that is currently available and evolving very, very fast, when the new technology comes, we as leaders, we have to be prepared and ever ready to make changes. We have to be very quick and very agile. We talk about agility in the VUCA world. So how do we change the business models, especially in the context of education? We are still very much, doing what the education in the 19th century, 20th century, and now we are in the 21st century, 21 years in the 21st century. And yet, in terms of how we implement and deliver our education, it does not actually follow the digital disruption. Okay. Next. So I would say that when we talk about digital leadership and those in the leadership position now in the digital world, like Dato Naim said just now, you cannot say that I'm allergic to computer anymore. I think we shouldn't have that kind of words being said now, because digital is not an option anymore. It's no longer an option. And I think we have learned from this pandemic situation how when we shift from the face-to-face to online education, it became, havoc everyone is, most people are actually panicking. They are not, they're not sure what to do and so on. Majority of them, but those who have embarked on online education for some time, they don't find it very difficult. Maybe some adjustments are needed, but it's not that difficult compared to those who have been kind of putting themselves outside this, the realm of the digital. So they keep saying that I'm not tech savvy. So I would say that ignorance is not a bliss, it's an oblivion. Being oblivious to the things changing around us is not the best way to move forward our education. Next. So this is one of the research done by Harvard Business, the report from Harvard Business Review and MIT. They found that in a study of 1,000 CEOs, very interesting, 90% believe their businesses are being disrupted or reinvented by digital business models. So they didn't deny. In fact, they said yes, 90% of them believe that. But when asked about their capabilities, 70% believe they do not possess the right skills, leader, or operating structure to adapt. So obviously, I think while on one hand they believe that digital technology is very important to run the business, to reinvent and so on, but they themselves, they do not have sufficient understanding and appreciation, not only understanding, not only knowing, but understanding and also appreciation of what the digital technology can do to disrupt their business, and therefore they can react accordingly. Next. So, as leaders at different levels in our organization or our institution, do you want to sound like a digital savvy? At least sound like a digital savvy in the conversation, in the meeting, as if you know a lot of things about the technology. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So these are some of the terms, as you can see on the slide here. If you want to really sound like a digital savvy, you have to make sure at least, all these terms have been kind of flying around, the buzzword, artificial intelligence or AI, just people just say AI, Internet of Things, IoT, just IoT, just if someone say Internet of Things, meaning that maybe, he or she doesn't know much about it. If IoT, okay, that sounds, maybe you know a lot, okay? Blockchain, now everyone is talking about blockchain for authentication, everything, 3D printing, it's become commonplace now, data analytics, augmented reality, virtual reality, big data, crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, MOOC, it's been around for some time. But if we do some test among the education leaders in the institution at different levels, ask them whether, have you heard about MOOC? Every time when I conduct a workshop, I always start with a survey among the lecturers or teachers, and I always ask the question, have you heard about MOOC? Okay, you have heard about MOOC. Have you taken any MOOC? Okay, I have taken. Have you completed any MOOC? Things like that. And you will be surprised to find that some of our educational leaders may have not heard about MOOC, or maybe they have heard about it, but they have only a vague idea about what MOOC is. But it's been around for some time already. I think about 20 years already now, but in Malaysia, or maybe I would say in 2012, probably that will be the time when MOOC really, getting traction at that time. But until now, don't be surprised that many of our educational leaders do not know about MOOC. What about micro-credential, the new thing now, the new buzzword after MOOC, micro-credential. Now everyone is talking about micro-credential. But I'm very sure that many educational leaders are still do not have a clue or very little idea about what micro-credential is, stackable credential, digital badges, blended learning, and so on. So when we talk about skills or competencies of leaders talk, when I say leaders, always I refer to the top and also right to the bottom and the middle managers, the middle like deans, head of department, and so on. Yeah. Okay, next slide, please. So leading in the digital world, let's look at let's pick into a digital disruption. Let's look at watch the next video. Next.
The world that we live in today is well and truly digital. We live in a hyper-connected world where half of the population of the planet is online. And that pace is only going to accelerate. And that's borne out by the fact that if you look at how much investment in venture capital has been going into digital technologies, it shows you where the money is going, it shows you where the innovation is going to happen. Last year, in 2018, venture capital investment into digital technologies were up 21% around the world to a whopping $207 billion. And Asia is not being left behind in that. Although slightly slower, that investment within the Asia-Pacific region was also up 11%. So if anything, with all that money going in, with all that focus, we are going to see that pace of innovation and digitization and transformation just accelerate even more. But digitization is well beyond just taking manual processes and just automating it. To me, it's really about twofold. How does it enable all of us to truly deliver different experiences to our customers, to our employees? How does it enable us to disrupt or transform our own business models? In fact, we're living a lot of that.
Okay, this was in the presentation by the Senior Vice President of Cisco in Cisco Live in Melbourne a few years ago. I was there. I was one of the participants. But basically what he was saying actually, the digital leadership and the digital technology is to drive the transformation of the organization. So in our context, how does the digital technology can be used to drive the transformation in our education, in the delivery of education, and therefore enhance the quality of our education. But in order to do that, the leaders of the educational institution, they must understand very clearly the trends, the emerging trends, and also the future trend in technology, and they are able to anticipate any new development and progress in new technology, and how they can leverage those technologies to improve the delivery, the educational delivery, and therefore improve our education system. It doesn't matter whether it's Tvet or, we are talking about education in general. Next slide, please. So, in other words, sustainability of any organization in the future would depend on the leaders' capability to understand digital and innovation, and therefore be able to make policies and right decisions, meaning that the leaders now having clear understand about digital technology, the different kind of digital technology currently available, and the emerging one, and also the future one, they will make an informed decision, and they will be able to drive the transformation of the organization well before other organizations can do that. They have a vision, they can envision and envisage 10 years down the road how our education, how our institution would be transformed or can be transformed, knowing that these are the things coming to us. And therefore, they need the necessary knowledge, the skill, and the competencies. It's a very important enabler in shaping the pace, the shape, and landscape, especially in the next 3 years and beyond, or let's say 5 years, or even longer than that. Next. So digitization is transforming experiences and disrupting business model. That's the two key points just now highlighted by, by the speaker just now. How do we leverage the digitization or digital technology to transform experience. What kind of experience? In our context, the learning experience of our students. And disrupting business, in our context, disrupting the way we do things in the context of education. There's so much power of technology yet to be leveraged, yet to be unleashed. Because many of our leaders are not yet seeing the power, because they themselves, while they believe technology is important, but they are not the practitioners themselves. They don't walk the talk, in other words. Okay, next please. So the biggest part of digital transformation is changing the way we think. We, in this case, are the leaders at different levels in the institution or in the organization. Next. So the visionary digital leaders must have a vision, but a vision is not enough. They cannot just delegate everything to the deputy or to the middle managers. Okay, this is my vision. Now just go and do it. I think cannot happen that way. The leaders themselves must have a strong conviction and belief, plus the skill and the competencies, the essential competencies to drive digital transformation. Next. So the leaders in this so-called digital leadership, or the digital leaders, must have a global, so-called the global perspective. Yeah, the global perspective on digital experience and innovation. If you look at on the bottom left on this slide, the big four. The big four here means these are the big four areas prime or ready for disruption, ready for digital disruption. And you can see here, education is the first one. They put it, they put it on the top. But let's look at what we have now in our education system, how much actually the digital disruption has really disrupted our education. I think we know more or less the answer from our experience dealing with the pandemic. Okay, next slide, please. So therefore, as a digital leader, one of the skill, one of the kind of competencies they must have, they must keep abreast, they must keep pace with the changes in the digital technology. And here we have the Horizon report here. And these are, to me, again, if we ask our so-called digital leaders in our educational institution, I'm quite confident that many of them have not or are not aware about this report. This is a must read for all educational leaders at any level. So in USM, actually, when this new report is released, I always share the copy in our WhatsApp group for the HOD, and I will just tell them, please read this, because in this report, it will tell you everything, and in the next 5 years, what are the new kind of technology coming to us, what will be the immediate one, what will be in the medium term, like 3 years, the immediate one would be, next year, and so on. So being a leader in any institution now in the digital world, when we talk about digital leadership, is having all this information so that they are able to figure out in terms of what should we do next, yeah, in terms of transforming our education and leverage. It's all about leveraging, leveraging the power of digital technology. Okay, next, please. So the digital transformation, the integration of technology in all areas of education, fundamentally changing how institutions operate and deliver value to their students. Next. So any institution, I believe, in the context of education institution, any university or colleges, they must have a digital blueprint. And this has to be driven from the top. And only those leaders who have a good understanding and appreciation of the power of digital technology will push for the institution to have so-called a digital blueprint. which is a planning approach that helps organization to identify the big picture's opportunity. Rather than doing things, piecemeal, but we need to look at the big picture, allows the flexibility to experiment and innovate and brings structure and organization to digital transformation effort. For example, next, the initiative like Smart Campus. Next, please. Okay, can I have the next slide? Yeah, initiative like the Smart Campus. This is all about, leveraging the power of digital technology. But if the leaders in the organization or the institution never heard of Smart Campus, or they don't understand what is the value of having a smart campus, so this will not happen because it's not driven from the top, Next, please. So many organizations are on the journey of digital transformation, which represent the next stage of business maturity. Next. Next, please. So the digital leadership is the strategic use of organizations' digital assets to achieve its goal. So the leaders must understand how to mobilize their digital asset if they have a good understanding and clear understanding of how they can leverage the power of digital technology. Next. So the digital future of our education, when we look at the road ahead, these are the questions that, some of the key questions that as leaders we need to ask. What are the opportunities of adopting digital technologies? What do we need to change? And who will be the drivers for implementing change mechanism? Okay, next. And this is very relevant to drive the academic, to transform the academic ecosystem and learning experience, leveraging again on the digital technology. Next. And to deliver the next generation students' experience. Next. And I would like to summarize in terms of the necessary and essential skill and competencies in this slide, 5 key skills of digital educational leaders. The first one here, digital literacy and competency. Second, keep up with emerging and future trends in technology. Number 3, the leaders would provide support, not only support, lip service, but the real support as necessary in terms of monitoring, in terms of everything that is needed to drive the digital transformation in the institution. Facilitate change and be innovative. And this can only be achieved if the leaders are willing to acquire all these new skills, to learn or unlearn some of their belief, some of their so-called what they think is right before, but it's not right now. Doing things, doing the right things the right way, to learn, unlearn, relearn, and facilitate change and be innovative. Next. And this is another slide here, which shows the so-called digital leader competencies. And yeah, by the way, I will share all the slides that you are seeing on the screen now. But as you can see, there are 5 elements here: drive, to navigate, connect, relate, and think. Drive digital by leveraging technology to modernize their business strategy and operations. Navigate a complex digital landscape by embracing disruption with clarity of purpose and resilience. Connect people and possibilities and increasingly dispersed and ecosystem-driven working world. Relate to others on a very human level by balancing people and technology, and lead with true empathy and inclusivity. Yeah? Think differently. That's an Apple tagline. Yeah? Think differently, focusing on holistic situational understanding and seeking creative and innovative possibilities. And you can see here, in terms of the leader readiness, weak, strong, you can see some of the items here. And these are, I think, very good things for all leaders to look through. And they can evaluate, assess themselves whether they have all the necessary competencies. And finally, my last part is to share a few examples of so-called, I would say, game changers initiative in higher education, in context of higher education, especially initiated by visionary educational leaders. Without them, there will be no game changers. So one is this one. I think probably those who have been following online education, they will know this MIT OpenCourseware. I would say they are one of the game with MIT OpenCourseware is one of the game changers that really push MOOC, Massive Open Online Course. But then, although they are the pioneering, I would say, they don't stop only at that level. And now they innovate, they continue to innovate, and they have all now, they are doing micro-credential, offer micro-bachelor's program for undergraduate education, and so on. There are so many new innovation coming from them, yeah, not only from MIT, but from some of the Ivy League university in the US. And of course, in Malaysia, we also have some visionary leaders. Previously, our minister, well, I have to mention because YB Dato Sri Idris at that time when we came up with our Malaysia Education Blueprint, and we have shift number 9 from the 10th shift here, globalized online learning, and I was involved directly with my friends to write the chapter, this chapter, globalized online learning, and this is the vision of our leaders at that time, our ministers and our top leaders in the ministry. They see that online is coming to us, and it has to be one of the key shift in our blueprint. And true enough, what we have seen in the pandemic, I think without the initiative that we started around 2014, probably we are in worse situation when we started the MCO, the pandemic last year. And this is where from the one of the initiative from the blueprint, shift number 9 is Malaysia MOOC. And I'm very proud to be involved as the one of the key person to drive this Malaysia MOOC agenda, one of its kind, very unique model, Malaysia MOOC. And again, this is through the visionary leaders, YB Dato Sri Idris, that push all the 20 public universities and now including also the polytechnic and community colleges as well to come up with Malaysia MOOC. Sorry, can we go to the next slide? Actually, I'm referring to the slide on my screen. Okay, I didn't realize the slide didn't change. Okay, the example of game changes. Go next. Get next, please. Yeah, this just now I was talking about my MIT OpenCourseware, where from there we have MOOC, and then next slide, please. They continue to innovate with micro-bachelor's program and micro-credential. Next. And our own Malaysia Education Blueprint, shift number 9, as you can see on the screen there. And from there, one of the key initiative in shift number 9 was MOOC, Malaysia MOOC. Next. So Malaysia MOOC involved 20 public universities, polytechnics, and also Malaysia community colleges. Next. Yeah, so this is our visionary leaders that make possible the blueprint and also the MOOC. Next. And this our own USM. We have also visionary vice chancellors that drive the digital transformation. Now we have close to 100 MOOCs in USM now, and it's continue to grow. Next. And now USM, I think, is leading the pack among the educational institution to introduce micro-credential, which I believe will be the next game changer in higher education. Next, the last slide, I think. And this is our website for micro-credential. Next. So conclusion. Just give two conclusion here. The first one here is, let me read from the slide. Digital leadership is vital for the organization to stay competitive and relevant, and sustainability of organization in the future will depend on leaders' capability to understand digital and innovation, and therefore be able to make policies and right decisions. And last slide, and with that, I'd like to thank you, the organizer, once again, for inviting me, and maybe I can answer one or two questions. And I'd like to request the organizer to share the link. I forgot to put the link on the slide. Please share with the audience, because I am giving away this slide for the audience reference, and feel free to use the slides for your own use, and also to modify as you wish. Thank you very much for listening. Dr. Lai, I cannot hear you.
You need to on your mic, Dr. Lai.
Sorry, my apologies. Okay, once again, thank you, Professor Dr. Abdul Karim, for the sharing and presentation. What I can summarize from this speech is that digital disruption, which is unavoidable, and it is where digital transformation takes place. And we have to bear in mind that digital is not an option. So whether we like it or not, we have to embrace digital technology. All right, and a smart campus is one of the digital transformation, right? And there are 5 key skills of digital education leader. For example, digital literacy and competency, keep up with emerging and future trends and technology, providing support, facilitate change, and be innovative. So I'm sure that these skills are interrelated with VOCA, and I hope we all will be able to integrate this idea into the practice of leadership. All right, so now I open for Q&A session. I have got one question from the audience, and this question is from, I think, Nadi, if I pronounce the name correctly. Nadi is from Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken. So the question is, if we have a leader who is not aware of the importance of digital technology, who are not aware of the digital technology adoption, so how are we going to deal with this type of people? Or how are we going to change the perceptions of the leader? From the subordinate, Prof. This question is a little bit tricky.
Well, yeah, that's quite unfortunate, I would say. Too bad. If the leaders are blind of, they are blind and kind of, this is what I call just now, the oblivious of the things in terms of the digital technology, what are the new things coming, and so on, and they do not proactively adopt and adapt whatever new digital technology that can really transform the way they do things and get good outcome from that in terms of education in this case. So what can we do? Well, I guess instead of bottom up, instead of top down, then maybe when you say leaders, probably the question just now refer to the top leaders. And we still have leaders at different levels. For example, in the university, for example, we have the head of departments, we have the deans, and we have also the senates and different kind of administrative structure. So, for example, we have deputy in USM. In the university, we have deputy vice chancellor on academic. We have deputy vice chancellor of research, development, and so on. So these are the people, the second layer in the leadership hierarchy. Hopefully, one of them would be a strong advocate of digital technology, and they have all the necessary knowledge, skills, awareness, competencies, and they can, at that level, bring forward some initiative proposed to the to the top management, and hopefully the top management will buy the idea. They are convinced. Depends on how good you pitch the idea and convince the top management. Or otherwise, if the second layer are not also aware or a strong advocate of digital technology, they don't feel that technology is needed for disruption, then it has to go to the next layer. It could be the head of department, it could be the deans and so on. I don't believe that you don't have leaders in any institution that are, not aware of anything about the digital technology. I think these days probably you will have at some levels, hopefully.
All right, Prof. So it means that we have to approach those who are aware of the importance of digital technology, and slowly we broaden our territory, right, and try to influence other people. All right, thanks for the answer. There's another question here, Prof. It is very challenging, especially for young academicians, in designing, running a professional development program in technology-enhanced learning and student-centered learning. So what is your advice for the young academicians?
Yeah, that's my job actually. In USM, as the director of Center for Development of Academic Excellence, we run this professional development program for our close to 2,000 academic staff across the 3 campuses. And before the pandemic, yes, I myself faced a challenge to get people to come for our training program. Some who came, not so much to really learn the skill, they're just there to, to get the so-called CPD point and just to fulfill the requirement. But I think things has changed dramatically thanks to COVID and pandemic. I think they really opened their eyes because there's a feedback that I get from not one, not two, from I think many of our lecturers, not only in the USM but at other universities. They really, they said to me, "Oh, now we can see why you strongly encourage us, you advocate technology and so on, and now only we realize the power of technology. Had we came to your program a few years ago, probably we will not be in this situation where we are, struggling and grappling to run our program." So I think the awareness is there already. It's just a matter of now coming up. The center, like my center now, we design a much better program. We identify what are the skill gaps. We do the proper analysis, gap analysis and so on. And now we run the specific program to cater for a specific kind of competencies for them to be able to be very competent now. Not only now just good or competent, but highly competent. Go to the next level now, so that they can run their online program or the blended learning or the hybrid learning very, very effectively.
All right. Thank you, Prof, for the sharing. So it is quite challenging at the beginning, but now everything is in place, I guess. Congratulations, Prof. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the rest of the question will be moved to the end of the program because we have time constraint. So after listening to all the critical ideas and insight from the speaker, now we relax our mind for a few minutes through video presentation. I pass the time to technical team.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Thank you for the video presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to the seminar. The last speaker is Dr. Kim Yong-sang from Career Research Institute of Vocational Education and Training. So there is a mistake in the poster concerning the topic of presentation. It should be TVET leadership during COVID-19. So before that, let me introduce Dr. Kim. As a policy researcher in Korea, Dr. Kim Yong-sang has completed more than 24 policy-oriented research focused on national skill policy and job creation strategies since 2005. And before working for the Korean government, Dr. Kim obtained a master in vocational education and workforce development at Seoul National University. He then studied at Columbia University in New York, USA, where he received his doctorate in 2004 in the field of human resource development and national development. Dr. Kim was a policy expert on the National Skills Strategy and SME Development Task Force team at the Presidential Council for National Competitiveness of Korea. Since 2004, Dr. Kim has been adjunct professor and lecturer at the Seoul National University, Ewha Women University, Konkuk University, Korea University, and Kyunghee University. Dr. Kim is going to talk about TVET leadership during COVID-19. Over to you, Dr. Kim.
Still good morning in Malaysia, but in Korea has already afternoon. Yeah, it is my great pleasure to have this time, the presentation and the discussion. And thank you, moderator, for your generous introduction and the professors. Okay, today I'm going to, I will talk a little bit about my job and my role in Korea and ASEAN. Actually, I'm organizer of EAS. EAS means ASEAN Pro 6 Tibet Network. Actually, it's a very active network. We are sharing our experience and knowledge among the ASEAN Pro 6 countries. Actually, the knowledge and experience sharing is very important because we are in similar situation. The cultural background and the other historic background is very similar. Thus, we can learn more lessons from each other. Actually, when I look at the last 50 years of the Tibet development in ASEAN, we try to copy Western model and Western technology and the other approach, but it turned out not successful in our context. Yeah, maybe we make some little success story, but overall it's very difficult to adopt that model and to make a real outcome. Thus, I think right now we have experienced try and error more than 30 years. Thus now it's time to share, and it's time when we share our experience, I think we can make better. That is the basic idea of the EAS Tibet network. Okay, and then actually my presentation more focusing on Tibet leadership, but I added a little more on digital leadership because I realized the real purpose of this webinar is more focusing on digital leadership. Thus, I added a little more. Just yesterday, thus I think main focus is on challenge we face. Okay, my first one is challenge we face. Actually, the Tibet leadership have many challenges, always. Actually, the many politicians say Tibet is very important for national development. But when they allocate the real resource, they are not generous to Tibet. But additionally, we have a lot of challenges. The first one is making decisions to keep our resource availability, managing cost and outcome. Because under the pressure from the COVID-19. We have more pressure on it. And second one is the difficulty to improve the quality to meet the industry demand. Actually, this is a chronicle issues, but we have more issues because industry, they are transforming their business in more fast pace. Thus, we feel we think the gap between the industry and Tibet Institute is getting bigger in terms of the technology level. And then we need to more control over the situation. Yeah, because we need to control not just the student, but also parents and the other, because they are staying in house. And we need to control to have them participate in more online learning. But we have less control. That is another challenge we face, and more panic among the stakeholders from pandemic and employment risk. Actually, many in Korea, many Tibet Institute, they lay off or cut the many employees practically because the offline training stopped. Thus, they cannot manage the institute. Thus, they have a lot of layoff and even they cut the jobs. And then last one is new technology becomes a key skill of leadership. The leader without the new technology understanding is very difficult to manage. Okay, second one is I want to mention about the principles of leadership in crisis. Okay, first one is we need to think from the heart, of people's heart, not from the situation. Actually, situation is very difficult to manage, but when you think from the people's heart, we have more information, we have more resources we can get. And then second one is put the value and mission first. When we in crisis, we might lose our direction. As a leader should put the value and mission first. Otherwise, they lose their direction. Third one is environment, social governance. Right now, actually, the 10 or 20 years ago, environment issue was not an urgent issue. But when you look down on the environmental issue now, it's very difficult. Thus, we need to look at environment and social issue and governance issue. I will talk about a little bit on that. And then communication with the compelling future and past is essential. We are under pressure of the crisis and the COVID-19, but we need to look at the future, compelling future, bright future, and how to get to there, the past. Then we can overcome and we can endure these situations. Because I think our leader need to know how to communicate with the compelling future and past with the stakeholders. And then a long-term view and long view with the feasibility. Actually, when you look at the short-term, no other way, no way to go. Looks like that. But when you look at long-term view, we have a lot of possibility. We have many choices. But the pressure make our view narrow and short. Because we need to figure out how to make the long-term view with more feasibility. And last one is a new technology skill. That is one of the key components of leadership. Okay, first one, leaders' way of thinking and acting should come from the people's heart, not from the environment. When COVID-19 pandemic came, people experienced the radical shift of their personal priority toward the family health, extended school closure, and the human angle of a life-threatening uncertainty. Leader increased communication to them that the leader understand their challenging priority, just like their family health and well-being and job security. those managed are critical to think from the heart of them. Great leader will put the people over business or work, thus make them secured from the turbulence of the pandemic, For example, solving of safe return of team that were deployed the other place or the new test and providing support to employ special assistance or concern with the mental or emotional health of employee or their family leader apply the same way of acting to better service their stakeholder, especially during the crisis. And designing of their heart started from understanding how it may have changed dramatically from early perception. Consider that in that crisis, a student often come down to the basic desire in safety, security, and health. Student will release the same empathy and kindness that leader extended to their student. They are also navigate through the crisis and experience empathy. As the recovery process begins, leader will need to stay committed to the principle of empathy and well-being of their people when they think from the heart. Next one. Okay. Okay. And then second one is put the value and mission first. Leader have a value from the mission which are not negotiable and remind all the stakeholders their purpose, which should be steadfast. When the leader is under a big pressure, stakeholder become sensitive to the leader's behavior, practically. And leadership is essential under crisis, calling upon a change. It is time for leader to demonstrate leadership, and leaders' responsibility is stabilizing current situation, pressing stakeholder. Leader figure out how to deal with the situation. Leader will remind key values from the mission which are not negotiable to the others. And that is not an easy task to do under the big pressure. But leader need to connect motivation to spark innovation and new ideas for the future. And leadership is about not only today, but also tomorrow and future. In this regard, we are under big pressure from the COVID-19 and fight against pandemic aftermath. However, leader will look at the future as well. Tibet needs continuous innovation. Thus, leader will connect motivation to create motivation, innovation for the future, and leader will make a list of priority to make relevant decisions. And priority list is based on the value and mission which all stakeholders should hold steadfast. Next one is ESG. ESG, I think right now we are using more ESG terminology because we need to look at the sustainability, not just 1 or 2 years, because we are under big pressure of the environmental, the global warming and carbon dioxide. And then next one is a social issue, not just actually we are in the society, but social is become core value of the organization, and the governance, how to manage all the stakeholders and all the issues together in more wide range. That is the basic idea of ESG. Okay, environment, social governance, and leader need to look at both sides. ESG is a fundamental issue of leadership. Environmental issue is the origin of COVID-19. Actually, we need to look at why COVID-19 broke out. Because our environment is not good condition. Thus, the environment cannot sustain the human nature and all the contaminations. That's why. And then after the COVID-19, if we cannot change our way of thinking, our way of the business and the others, another pandemic will come soon. Actually, last 1,000 years, pandemic comes to human around 200, 300, 600 years ago. But right now, we have a pandemic every 2 or 3 years. Thus, right now, that we have advanced medical technology, but it's very difficult to control the pandemic with the medical technology. And this is a pandemic, the COVID-19 is one of the big warning. How does we need to change how to interact with the environment? And then we need to protect the environment in order to reduce the natural disease and shortage of natural resource. And Green Tibet is not an agenda only for the rich country. Green Tibet is not a brand of the agenda, but common goal we are looking for with the technologies. Fuel efficiency improvement. But when you look at the green technology, I think our technology has nothing to do with the green Tibet. But when you look at the fuel efficiency improvement and resource recycling, innovation for protection of water, air, forest are key to fight against the global warming. Thus, our current skill and technology is a tool to fight against the global warming and clean environment. And social issue comes from consideration of the social impact. Right now, everyone, I heard 50% of the global human the population connected to the internet, and they are sharing the information and their ideas. Thus, social impact very, very big, huge, and very fast. Thus, if in Korea, one company, they have a big mistake, and then they have a big consequence. They take big consequence from the social impact. Thus, they close down their business. Actually, 10 years ago, we could not imagine that kind of reactions. But right now, is social. Actually, the customer and the social impact is very big and very fast. And then Tibet is creating social impact, and Tibet student, their family member and community are main social group interaction. Thus, we need to consider the student and the other member as a stakeholder. And Tibet is interacting with the industry and companies and government institute and other institute. Thus, Tibet leader need to understand all social issue carefully and take action correctly. Governance is about coordination of Tibet activities and support. There's a resource allocation and human resource and decision-making process and participation. Thus, we need to look at not just the inside of our Tibet and Tibet Institute, but also we need to look at society and all the environmental issue and governing issue together. Okay, next one is, how can I say, this is short-term or long-term? I think it looks like a long-term view. Okay, when leader face a crisis, there are 3 steps which leader take to get over. First is respond, in which leader deal with the present situation and keep continuity from crisis damage. And second one, recover. I think we are getting into recover stage, and during which leader learn and emerge stronger. And the last is a thrive. Thus, I think after COVID-19 pandemic, we will experience thriving. Thus, we need to prepare that stage, and where leader prepare for and shape the next stage, part of the true leadership. And while most leaders are very attending to the basics in the response pace, and the view changing gradually. Now it's changing, and as we progress into recover stage now, and gradually into last one, drive stage. Thus, leader need to look at the crisis with the three-stage point of view, not just respond and recover and drive at the same time. And COVID-19 crisis has given us a new normal. We call it new normal. And mask is normal. Without mask, it's not normal. Actually, 2 or 3 years ago, mask only for the old person or who has a serious disease. But right now, it become one of the necessary. And experts are keep saying structural change that will take place as a consequence of this crisis. As COVID-19 impact every aspect of our work and life and even leisure, we have seen 10 years worth of digital transformation within 2 years. Actually, I visit more than 15 times. 15 times visiting other country. That means 14 or 15 traveling world every year. But last year, no. But I have a lot of meetings, online meeting, almost every day, just like this. Because I think the frequency of the meeting is getting bigger. Because I think I feel more connected with the others. But actually, physically, I'm staying in Korea. Okay, and then okay, and remote or Zoom meeting become the new normal, and multiple technology collaboration platform has seen millions of meetings every day, and generate more meetings. And now no meeting with many participants because breathing the air in the closed space could be risky. The Tibet has witnessed various challenge in spite of the a lot of online learning options available. Much of the education was classroom driven, with schools and colleges turned into virtual class during the pandemic. The trend toward more online interaction is likely to become larger, and we experience many different challenges from the online class because of the poor technology infrastructure, internet and computer and connectivity, and less prepared content. Teachers do not have the online content. And then poverty issue. Many students, they do not have internet connection and no mobile internet. Because we're facing many issues from this pandemic, and leader must be able to think of long-term implication and start preparing for those by anticipating structural change and their lasting effect. And they should shape new opportunity by creating new value emerging from unanticipated crisis and creating new Tibet business model. During the crisis, leaders have been able to respond with a sense of urgency, willing to embrace agile way of working with the team and the others, focusing with a clear goal and the rapid decision making. And these learning are necessary to make the way of working going forward an enduring source of competitive advantage. Actually, we are in the competition. Actually, right now, national border is getting lower because in online Tibet institutes, they increased the business in another country. That is actually in many United States college and university, they opened the program in Korea. the students do not go to United States. They can stay in Korea and they can have a degree, even PhD. Thus, I think we need to think about in online-based Tibet. The competitiveness is another very important issue. And okay, and then next one is a game-changing technology. That is another. Actually, today is focusing on technology. Thus, I want to mention about a little bit on what is going on in Korea. Actually, we have three layers of the new technology. First layer is a core foundation tech. That is artificial intelligence and 5G connection, IoT, cloud, big data, Wi-Fi, intelligent network, new generation security, and public safety and disaster prevention and predict. That is a core and foundation tech. And second one is application tech. It's a cross-cutting. And for example, blockchain. Blockchain is not just for coin, but the business fintech, financial tech is transforming by blockchain. Right now, actually, 2 years ago, I have only limited service available on mobile, on the banking. But right now, 100% banking service available on mobile now, because they have very strong blockchain security system. And then real feeling media, for example, VR and AR. Right now, even Tibet practice, skill practice is available on VR, AR. Not just a big company, but school can provide this kind of real feeling media now. Thus now, I think if the pandemic gone, and maybe next years, we still use a lot of online education and then the media technology. Because we realize it's very effective when you use smart way. And then innovation tech. Right now is a cutting edge technology. It's a smart city. Smart technology, smart campus, the professor mentioned about it, but the smart city is one of the example, because we have many smart devices and technology, but the physical structure is not fitting or not coordinated. That's why when we have more smart structure, physical structure like a city, we can enhance the effectiveness and productivity of the smart technology. Actually, one of the example city, smart city, is under construction in Sejong City. Sejong is just like Putrajaya administration city in Korea. There's one block, not just one block. It's about 3 kilometers width and 3 kilometers, just a square, 9 square kilometers. It become the smart city sample. Just I think they have, and it is very important because in smart city, self-driving car available. Self-driving car itself is right now is 100% finished, the technology, but every 50 meter they need a camera. Does the camera connect to the car? Does camera take all the information and send to the car, and then car can use that data. For example, when car cross the street, it's we cannot see the right hand side, left hand side. But so, for example, some bicycle come in 2 seconds, but you cannot see the bicycle. But when the camera take a picture in over your every block, and then they send the information to the car, we can escape all the corrupt accident. That's why it takes time. Thus, smart city, they will have that kind of the system, smart camera grid. Then we can use the real 100% driving car, self-driving car. Right now, this is another thing going on. And the drone. There are 3 different drones. Usually we can say flying drone, but driving drone on the ground, and then the ship drone or on the ocean. Thus that is another. And then intellectual robot. Yeah, it's connected to the artificial intelligence. And smart factory. Right now, smart factory is it's everywhere. And then smart health. Okay. Okay. If you have any questions, just after my presentation, I want to have more questions. Then I can share my more experience and information. Just ask me more. This is just basic information. Because I like a question and answer and dialogue. Just please do not hesitate. Okay. And technology application is another things. And understanding tech possibility. That is because it's technology changed the nature of the business, nature of the Tibet. Thus, we need to see more possibility, and we need to look at the risk at the same time. Because this is game changer, and it make a big change even in vocational education. Just like maybe the big company, maybe big IT company, they can start the Tibet Institute, online Tibet Institute. They can use all the technology. Plus even they can provide much better practical training than the local providers. And second one is new service and product. Actually, when we apply the new technology, we need to figure out what kind of new service and new product we can produce, we can create. That is another game-changing issue. And then new customer and new market. Just like, okay. If one of your Malaysian Tibet Institute, they can have a very good program and service, they can start business in Korea. Actually, no problem at all. And then market is another thing. But in this case, I think few very strong Tibet Institute can dominate the market. For example, the music market. Long time ago, there are many musicians. They can have a small concert in the community or street or school. But now, no. Students just look at YouTube. For example, BTS. When BTS opened their online concert, more than 30 million people joined online. That means local musicians have no chance to have a concert, small concert. Thus, I think in this case, the strong musician or strong Tibet Institute can have more market and more customer. But a small one, not competitive one, they will lose the opportunity. That's like a coin, both sides of coin. And then transforming supply chain. That is another issue. Right now, the manufacturing company, they are going back to United States. In Korea, Hyundai Motors Company, they stopped the new factory construction 1998. but they have more than 3 automobile factory in United States. And they decide to have 2 more lines in United States again. Why? The business condition is better in United States. For example, oil price. Right now, oil price, United States become biggest oil producing country. And then they have a big market, very close. Logistic issue is better. And they have more technology. Technology's accessibility is better. Thus, more company move their factory to United States. Thus, now, until now, the ASEAN country, they take advantage of this kind of supply chain change, because at the time, most of the company, they moving their factory from rich country to ASEAN. Last 40 years. That's why ASEAN become the locomotive of world economic development. But right now, it's upside down. More company will close down in your country, and then they move to the other. Thus, I think it is ignited by the technology. That is another things. And then Tibet leader and technology. New tech is the key leadership component. When you look at the MBA program, not just in Korea, but also United States, they teach more technology. Not just about technology. They're teaching hardcore technology, just like coding and mechanical engineering. And that is a part of the MBA program. And then data science. Actually, 10 years ago, that level of the data science only taught in statistic program, but right now in MBA program. Thus, I think all the leader should not just know the technology, they should have technology and skill. And second one is human and machine collaboration is another important issue. Actually, before this technology, actually the space is separated, machine space and human space, because it's very dangerous to work with the robot in the same space. But right now, the smart machine can collaborate with the human, just like the 2 pictures. And that means that is another point. Maybe we have more advanced level of the smart technology. Robot can replace human totally. It is showing the possibility. Thus, but in this right now, I think we will have this stage, the human and the machine collaboration, more than I think 20 years. Thus, we need to figure out how to manage these situations. Thus, we need to look at not just a human, but also a smart machine together to make a better collaboration. And then there are another possibility. A good signal I want to give. Augmented work skill. We actually in Tibet, people worry about the future of the Tibet, because all the traditional skill would be useless, because the digital skill can replace all the traditional skill. That is true? I don't think so. Actually, the new skill, the industry need augmented work skill. Augmented work skill means physical world skill, traditional skill, plus cyber skill combined. That is the real skill. When you look at the control center of the automobile, just like the left-hand side, actually only monitor and computer. They can control everything. But when you look at the real world, the machine is working to make an automobile, just like this. Actually, who can manage or who can take care of this robot and the other physical facilities and machines and equipment? Traditional skilled worker is necessary to manage this factory. At the same time, all the controlled by digital and cyber technology. Thus, they need to understand how the cyber skill and cyber technology, the new technology. Then they can connect traditional skill and cyber skill. That is very important. Thus, we do not need to replace all the skill, but we need to teach together the traditional skill and cyber skill together. That is important. Thus, we need to upgrade our program, not replacing. Okay, and then compelling future and past. Then storytelling. Delivering compelling future is critical to help people look at the same direction with relevant perspective. In crisis, we need to look at same direction. When all our stakeholders look at the different directions, very difficult to make a decision. Does that make them strong and efficient to respond to the crisis and it impact properly? And people can endure the situation when they have clear vision of their current situation and the future. The story provides direction on how to respond to the crisis, enabling others to find their own indigenous way to serve and add value. Thus, it is important for the leader to state, talk, fact, and frame the problem in the way that help people understand importance of the problem and what it means. And communication at all the time important, but during the crisis, it assumes completely different significance. There is information available for everyone to consume. It is critical for leader to own narrative by explicitly sharing their perspective on the situation. That's a story and what means for the leader, and also clarifying what they expect from their team. And we have seen effective leader adopt approach of frequent and shorter communication with the people with the story. At times like this, it is also, sorry. Okay, okay. At the time, just like this, we clear that leader may not have the complete information, and it is also like to communicate this transparently. Authenticity in communication and being equal open about what is clear and what is not clear is critical to establish trust. Without the trust, no leadership. That can remove all the misinformation and assumptions from their fear and concerns. Communication is also important to engage and people and energize, keep people energized. One way to do this is by communicating the win and success story in the future, in the history, and in difficult time, just like this. It adds cheer and uplift the positivity and equal importance is need to connect with people at the personal level, more personal level, and leader connect frequently and checking into well-being of their employee, reinforce the strong bond and help the team feel understand and comfortable. While this is critical at all time, is in time where people are dealing with a high level of stress, insecurity, and anxiety. they become even more critical and more conscious effort are required to create that connect because of the virtual working environment, online situation. Leaders are spending more time than ever in strengthening this relationship with the clear communication. And then future of the Tibet is depend on the Tibet leader. We need to create another figure because we are getting into new normal. Just an old vision, old picture is useless. Thus we need to develop new feature. And then during the COVID-19, demand of Tibet for new normal technology emerged. But if we keep teaching only traditional skill, no market, no student. But when you figure out how to make a augmented new technology, traditional skill and digital skill combined, we will see big driving. And then creative and flexible way of the Tibet practice. Thus, we need to change our all the way of the working and communication. Thus, we need to be more flexible. We need to be more creative. Actually, that is very important because usually Tibet people, or old traditional Tibet people, they are very conservative. They are not willing to be more flexible. They want to cringe with the old way, that is dangerous. And leadership comes from collective peer learning. Thus, leadership, not just a leader, leadership comes from the collective learning of the stakeholder. Thus, we need to encourage the collective peer learning because each stakeholder, they have their own view and they have no ideas and knowledge. When you share and when you think together, we can make much better. Thus, usually I don't have enough time because I'm going to finish. Okay, this is my last slide. Thank you for your participation. This is my email. And I anticipate more questions. Thank you. No sound.
Thank you, Dr. Kim, for the presentation. So I managed to capture 6 principles of leadership in crisis or during pandemic. The first principle is think from our heart, which we focus on humanity. The second principle is put the value and mission first. A leader should enhance motivation to spark up innovation for future. And the third principle is environment, social, and governance. So a leader should sustain environment development through the use of green technology to uphold social core value and pay attention to social impact and to promote effective governance. And the fourth is communication with compelling future and path with stakeholder, where leaders should spend more time in strengthening the relationship with stakeholder. And then the fifth is the long-term view with visibility, which consists of 3 major steps: respond, recover, and thrive. And the last principle of leadership is new technology skill, which focus on game-changing technologies such as 5G, IoT, blockchain, drone, and smart city. Right, so thank you very much for the sharing, Dr. Kim. Now we open for Q&A. I have a question here from the audience.
Okay.
Dr. Kim, the question is, let me read the question. Okay, some people say that TVET should be led by industry, not academia or government. What is your opinion?
Okay. Yeah, actually, when I look at the category of the Tibet people, there are three different categories of the Tibet people. Tibet leader, first category is an industry person. They experience industry, and they have a very close relationship with their industry. But the relationship with academia is very weak, not strong. And second one is balanced. They have a true connection with the industry and academia, and they know how to collaborate with the industry and academia. And last person, they no experience in the industry. They want to be an academia professor, but no space for him. That's why he is working in Tibet Institute. But in that case, I think the best case is the second one. Actually, that is one of the Tibet leader in Tibet. They should keep balance between industry and academia. Thus, I think that is the skill of balancing between two positions. Thus, I think we need to figure out how to make manage the good relationship with the industry and academia. For example, right now in Korea, we looking for more connection with the academia, because right now is new technologies comes. Thus we need to learn. We need to get some technology part from the academia. But maybe 3 or 4 years later, we were more focusing on the relationship with the industry, because industry, they need a new skill. That's actually it's like a cycle. There's right now more demand from the academia, but after 3 or 4 years later, we will need more strong relationship with the industry, because we need to learn the skill how to orchestrate the relationship, the industry and academia. But if you have only one strong relationship with the academia or the industry, it's very difficult to manage the future. What happened? Okay.
Dr. Lai, are you online? Professor Kim has finished his answer to the questions.
Dr. Lai frozen.
Yeah.
He's trying to.
Yeah, I think the Dr. Professor Karim Alias, you are a balanced person.
Yeah, we have answered very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Lai.
Yes.
But it seems Dr. Lai has not come.
Yes.
Maybe if you may, Prof. Kim, I'd like to add a little bit on the how to balance, academia and industry. Yeah, we also face the same situation in Malaysia. Now we are talking about co-ownership. What used to be is that academia supplies the manpower, they train based on input from stakeholder, from industry, in terms of developing the curriculum, identifying the skills needed. So we try to develop the curriculum, the program, the contents, and we deliver, and we have some student attachment or industrial training in the industry. And sometimes the academia goes to the industry as industry attachment too. But this is not going to change in a big way. So a better way is that instead of government spending totally developing, this Tibet institution from start. So I think from industry, even from the beginning, maybe they should start having a cost sharing approach, so that they will feel ownership of the thing, and because they have invested, in fact, it's for their own good, because it will be a waste of taxpayers' money to spend and suddenly find that there is a mismatch between the supply and the demand. And in the end, in Malaysia's case, a lot of the small and medium enterprise, they're quite reluctant to really move up the technology ladder. And because of the risk of investment, they may not make profit. So they are stuck with the low or middle technology, focusing on labor intensive. So getting, let's say, foreign workers, and the wages are not that high. And so this is not going to make, for example, Malaysia leap into the high income economy. We have been trapped into the middle income economy. Unlike, for example, South Korea, where Professor Kim comes from. I know in the 60s we were quite similar, but because you have invested on human resource, South Korea do not have a lot of natural resource like oil or rubber or tin, but they focus on the people to get really educated and having all this research and development and innovation. That's why you come up with all these Samsung and LG and all these products that are being exported, the Kias and all your, Hyundai and so on. So that's good. So I think our country also and other countries need to learn from this. And but because we are so blessed with natural resource, so we export the raw materials and not go to the downstream. We do not process further to add value so that we get more, I would say, more value and make more profit from selling at the downstream level. So we always, export. Like what is happening in Indonesia recently, when the President Jokowi announced that they do not want to export crude palm oil. They want to make something out of it, like in detergent and any downstream industry, so that they can gain more. But of course, this one will face resistance from the World Trade Organization. But back to this, I believe a co-ownership model, a more recent model that will have more impact, rather than the normal, just they will come in, industry will come in once in a while as advisory board, as a committee advisory board, employability board, but they have to work hand in glove together right from the beginning.
I want to share the one of example of the co-ownership in Tibet.
Yeah. All right.
Have you heard about the Meister School?
Yes, Meister School in South Korea.
New secondary vocational education model in Korea. Actually, is actually co-ownership, because one school have two owner, not the owner, important decision maker. One is a company, for example, Hyundai Motors company, and then school. And then the Hyundai Motors company participate in all the decision making. That's the location of the school and curriculum and teacher and even the director hiring. That's Hyundai Motors company. There's and then 30% of their class taking place at the inside of Hyundai. At least 30%. And then there are some employment contract between the school and Hyundai Motors company. If they meet some certain standard, skill standard, they will hire all of them. Yeah, this is a contract. But if they cannot meet the standard, they cannot hire any. Because I think the teacher have to help the student meet the need, the qualification, national qualification, and the firm-specific skill.
So, Prof. Kim, who are the instructors in that Meister School? Are they people from academia, or the people from the Hyundai themselves, or a mixture?
Okay, actually there are two groups. 70% of the instructor, they are from academia, but they have some experience, industry experience, and then every year they have to visit Hyundai Motors company more than 1 month for retraining. That is 70%, and the other 30% from Hyundai Motors company, but they are not a normal teacher, the practice teacher. They have actually they have a degree and they have an engineer, but they come to school, or they bring the student inside of the school company and they teach. So 70% and 30%. Because I think, but in the first time the director was former Hyundai Motors company engineer. Actually, to become the director of the school, they have to have a lot of qualification. But we remove everything, because any people can be a director.
Yes.
Because yeah, otherwise it's very difficult to have a industry person, the director.
So you have many master school already in South Korea?
Around 60.
Oh, yeah, 60.
Yes. And then,
so what happened to the traditional vocational training in the school before the master? You eliminate all of them? Are they still around, or you are changing a little bit?
Or actually, right now the total number of the Tibet Institute in secondary Tibet Institute is around 600. Master school only 10%. But master school is a direct connection with the company, and then direct connection with the one of the core skill, backbone industry. For example, shipbuilding, semiconductor, automobile, and marine, and the logistic, and aviation, something like that, drone, and robotics. So it's all about the manufacturing core skill.
All right.
So Dr. Kim, do you mean each school focus on one specific skill, which is in the industry skill?
Yes.
Depends on which industry the school is working with, right?
Yes. So before the master school, they have many programs. For example, mechatronics and some electronics and agriculture. But right now, only mechatronics. Because when they have too many programs, it's very difficult to manage the quality of the education.
Yes. Sometimes we try to be very comprehensive. We offer so many programs, and then you know, we are not focused. So this is something good to think of it.
Yeah.
So company, do we have a similar type of school in Malaysia? I mean,
okay, in Malaysia, the private entities sometimes build their own school. For example,
private one.
We have the Berjaya School of Hospitality and Management. So the Berjaya group, they themselves make the school, and they train, because Berjaya is involved also in the tourism and hotel industry.
Yeah.
So they create their own school and train people to man their own industry. Of course, you know, UTP, Universiti Teknologi Petronas, to also work for Petronas and for the open market. You know, TNB definitely built Unit 10.
Yeah.
Also for their own needs and for the open market. So we have that kind of thing. But the co-ownership, where I don't know, in Korea, Prof. Kim, is it 50-50% cost sharing in the developmental stage and operating stage, or how's the formula?
Actually, the cost sharing is over 90% is from government. Yeah, only less than 10% from the company. But actually, this model, private-public partnership model, looks not stable. Usually, company, they want to own their own school. But in that case, they are losing the public value. Yeah, that's, I think that is balance between the private demand, the company demand, and industry demand and the public demand. Because when they take advantage of the school only for their company, the career development opportunity is narrow. Yeah, sometimes the student, they do not want to work for Hyundai. Yeah, then they have to their own. We need to respect their own decision.
Yeah.
If it's under the company, it's very difficult to change their direction. That is another thing.
There's a pros and cons, eh?
Yes, yes. Even Samsung Semiconductor Meister School, 100% after the graduation, 100% they can work for Samsung Electronics. Their salary and their fringe benefit is best in Korea. But over 50% of them, they do not want to work for Samsung. Why? Workload too much.
Yeah, maybe the nature of work, maybe the pressure, you know,
yes.
the high competition. Maybe they want a little bit to be like a K-pop.
Yes,
maybe.
and just like a production, they have to make some innovation at the same time to promote it, to become promoted. That's only 30% they can stay more than 5 years, but 70% they leave the Samsung.
But does Korea has a problem to get people into Tibet education? Because I think in Malaysia there's still a perception that Tibet is like a
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in Korea, Meister school only top 10% school, top tier, and the other 90% is still traditional Tibet.
In terms of qualification, you know, what would be the entry level in terms of qualification? Do you get a top students qualification wise, rather than, you know?
Yeah, actually, usually the Meister school, they hire student top 30%.
Top 30%. Oh,
yeah, okay. Top 30%, 30 to 40. But the other traditional conventional Tibet school, bottom 30%. Bottom.
But in Malaysia, the situation is changing also.
Yeah, we are actually in terms of prospective potential to get jobs. Tvet has more opportunity. If you can see the graduate employability from our tracer study of graduate, actually, I think roughly of all Tvet institutions, perhaps 90% of the graduates get jobs. Or because in Malaysia, the way we define graduate employability is that either you work or you further study. So the further study is included in the graduate employability definition in Malaysia. I would say maybe 20 to 30%, you know, go for the study, the rest get job. But the issue is the income level of the Tvet graduate, you know, is still left to be desired. So although there are wage guides produced by the Human Resources Ministry, but this is only guide. They are not enacted by any particular law. So I see Dr. Lai is already on board, so we just have to pass back to him. Dr. Lai, what happened?
Yeah, I'm very, very sorry because the line is disconnected. I think that's one of the challenges in a digital world.
Well, we manage while you're not around.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I have another question here, Dr. Kim.
Yep.
So during the pandemic, a lot of skill training has moved to online platform, right? However, certain skill training cannot be conducted through online platform. So can you share with us how Korean deal with this problem?
Okay. Yeah, right now, it's actually I have a lot of story coming. Actually, in last year, in 2020, almost all the Tibet Institute stopped the practical skill training. And around 3 or 4 months, because they have online facility and equipment, but they do not have any practical skill and routine to operate online skill training. That's only theory part they taught during the time. But after 3 or 4 months, they figuring out it's very difficult to continue only online and theoretical teaching, because after 3 months they have to graduate and they need to have a job. But without the practical skill, it's very difficult and dangerous. Thus, I think they figuring out how to continue the skill training. Thus, only 30% of students come to school with the social distance. Thus, they have a skill training. Only actually they make 3 shifts, 33%, 33%, 33%. Thus, one shift coming to school for training in the morning, and second shift comes to school in the evening, afternoon, and last shift comes to the school evening. Thus, they keep and then in this year they introduce more advanced AI, VR training online, online training, online skill training program. Because I heard the MyRIVET school, they still, in MyRIVET school is different because 100% of the students stay at the school. They have dormitory. Because they keep, and then they cannot get out of the school. They have to 24 hours, 7 days in a week. They have to stay inside of the school. And then even the teacher, the same way, to prevent all the the COVID-19. Thus, they 100% skill training operating, but the other 500 school, they have a lot of challenge. But some school, they can manage this challenge very well. Thus, they very successful. But the other school, still very difficult to manage it. But anyway, more online skill training, and then we can make a small group skill training, less than 10 students. Then they can come and then they can keep the social distance and they can continue the skill training. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kim, for the sharing of the answer. So it seems like during the pandemic, we all, every country having the same problems in terms of skill training, right? All right. So due to time constraint, we are not able to answer all the questions posted in the chat box.
But that's all right.
Apologies.
I have to leave in 5 minutes. Because I think if you have one more question, I can answer the question.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
We are winding up. Right. So I would like to express our deepest gratitude to all keynote speakers for sharing with us their insight on Tibet leadership and answering all the questions we asked. So before wind up, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Razali Hassan, the Director of MyRIVET, to give a few words as closing remarks. Over to you, Dr. Razali.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and warm greetings. All praises to the Almighty. Foremost, I would like to thank the organizing committee of webinar on Tvet-Leadership Development Program from Akademik Kepimpinan Pendidikan Tinggi, AKAP, Universiti Tun Hussein On, Malaysia, and Malaysia Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training, MyRIVET, for their great effort in making another marked progress in enhancing the TVET agenda in Malaysia. In this competitive digital era, TVET educators must keep up, adapt and adopt new form of leadership skills, as they play a very important role in the development TVET personnel from all levels. More so now that TVET is gaining increasing attention throughout the world. As a technical premier university in the field of engineering and technology, Universiti Tunku Senon Malaysia acknowledge the significance of TVET leadership in building a well-developed and holistically educated nation. In line with the objective of the Malaysian Education Blueprint for Higher Education 2015-2025, UTHM continuously push for upgrading instructor skills levels to be future ready. UTHM holds the aspiration to establish international collaboration and networking, especially in the field of TVET, with different countries. The TVET Leadership Development Program serves as a platform where members could share and identify common issues and opportunities of leadership role and challenges arising in the digital age. This development program also serves to train the TVET personnel in modern technology and leadership practice to ensure that the institution they lead can effectively deliver quality education and training through digital skills improvement. My utmost gratitude goes to all parties, especially to ACAC, an institution under the Ministry of Higher Education, and the international TVET expert who have contributed their energy and time for the success of this program. I look forward to the continuation of MyRIVET and ACAP playing a major role in future TVET leadership development programs and making it an agenda for the betterment of TVET. May we always tread on the path to realize the mission of TVET to be a significantly contributing factor in human resources development and nation building. Let me end with the wisdom words. If education holds the keys to success, then TVET is the master keys. Thank you all for your active involvement in this program. Sekian, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
This seminar has come to its end. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for your participation in this seminar. Thank you, ACAP, for funding this program. And on behalf of the organizing committee, I apologize. It has been shortcoming throughout the program. And ladies and gentlemen, please fill in, and also QR code will be displayed on the screen later. Yes, technical team, can you display the QR code? Don't forget